morning, good afternoon, good evening, all our viewers, and welcome to another exciting episode of The Adventures. I am your host, Kunle Olufemi. As you know, on The Adventures, we seek to bring you the stories of courage and vision behind the brands and the businesses and the organizations that you see around you every day. We hope to help you achieve success faster, avoid some of the mistakes that they made, right, by telling you their story or by sharing their stories with you. As you listen to us today, we hope that it will be another exciting episode of adventures for you. Today, I have a friend in the studio who will be sharing an inspiring story with us. My friend Shelly Personage runs or Mrs. I mean her because I don't want you guys thinking she's available. She's off the market, right? My friend Shelly Personage, Mrs. Shelly Personage runs UC Sausages here in the UK, right? And just to tell you a little bit about UC Sausages, just a minute. Now, UC Sausages specializes in providing catering services for your special events and private functions. Their team will work with you to create a menu that fits your taste, budget, and style. All right. They have a team that has been specially choosing to drive efficiency and reliability. Now, I can't do justice to the introduction of, UC Sausages, so I'm just basically going to step away, and bring to the studio, allow Shelley to do bulk of the introduction herself. So welcome with me, Mrs. Shelly Personage. Welcome, Shelley.
Hi, Kinley. What a great introduction.
All right. Once again, thank you for coming on. I would just like you to, meet our guest, all right? And tell us a little bit about yourself, about your business, right? And, tell us about the scale of what you've been doing. Over to you.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for having me. It's my pleasure to be here. So I run Usually Sausage. It's been running since 2013, so quite a long time now.
Wow.
And it started off, so I wanted to do a catering business because I just loved going to festivals and all that kind of thing when I was a bit younger. So yeah, it started off in 2013, and initially it started off in a gazebo, so I just go to kind of smaller, more village events. I just thought it's really as simple as
Sorry, what is a gazebo? Is it like a small tent?
Yeah, like just a structure that you pull apart and then you put a cover over the top. So very temporary. Yeah. So I'd just lug one of those in the back of my car along with some tables and equipment and some like tablecloths. Wow. And then just go along to different events, set it so you'd set it all up before you got there. And then a couple of griddles and like a bain-marie and a hot water run. And then I just started, I chose sausages because I just loved eating sausages. So that was sort of my favourite foods. So I started off using sausages, and then I've gradually expanded. So when it was doing, I was like, I can actually make quite good money doing this. So I invested a bit into the business and ended up buying a trailer in lockdown, actually. I bought a trailer in 2020. Was it 2021?
Oh, right in the middle of COVID.
Yeah, so I was a bit of the crossroads because I think in the middle of COVID, we didn't really know what was going on, did we? And I was like, is this a ridiculous idea, investing this money into getting a trailer, spending like a good few grand on it, getting like a permanent structure rather than a gazebo, when you didn't really know whether anyone was ever going to be socializing again or anything like that. But
everyone was coming to an end.
Yeah, nobody knew it was such a weird time, wasn't it?
Wow.
Actually, it turned out a blessing in disguise because I was living with a friend at the time who had a big driveway, and obviously you couldn't spend any money. So I had loads of money to be able to do the trailer up, which I wouldn't necessarily have the time or the money to do that in normal circumstances. So then, I invested in a trailer that just attaches to the back of my car. And then, it's got more and more, I think because of the trailer, it looks a bit more professional than the gazebo. So that then led me down the avenue of not just festivals and events like that. It led me down to more private events, so doing weddings and business parks and that type of thing. Yeah, it's been going for a little while now, and it's, I suppose, word of mouth keeps spreading. Yeah,
Wow.
there we go.
I mean, it's interesting to hear all of this, right? I've eaten your sausages a couple of times, right? And I can tell you that, guys, that if you have an event, you can be rest assured that, that this is really good, right? But it's really interesting to hear how it all started, not out of any grand, revelation or something. You love this food, right? You love going to festivals, right?
Yeah.
And things just kind of connected. You're like, you know what? If I love it this much, go ahead. You want to share something?
Yeah, so it initially started. So I've been to Glastonbury Festival a couple of times,
Yeah.
and I was helping at my friend. So my friend lived in Wales in a teepee community. So there was
Yeah.
a load of hippies that lived in Wales, and they all lived in teepees in the mountains, and
Okay.
they got invited every
Sorry, what's
year.
TP? Just for my guys who are
Teepees
not very familiar with.
like a wigwam. So like Native Americans that have like sticks in the middle, fire in the middle,
Okay.
and then like the
Okay, I see.
material around the
Yeah,
outside
yeah,
and a
yeah,
fire in the
yeah,
middle.
yeah,
So they used
yeah.
to live in them. They were really like hippies, like lovely, lovely
That's it.
people. And they used to get invited every year to go to Glastonbury.
Mm,
And they could go to Glastonbury for free, but they had to kind of almost put on a bit of a display to show kind of the people of Glastonbury how they live.
I
And
see.
so they ran a teepee cafe,
I see.
but they did it all organic food or like vegetarian foods.
Mm,
And it was fun. I worked with them, but they had very big, they had like quite a vast menu. It was like
mm,
loads of different parts of the menu. And as lovely as they were, it wasn't the most organized
I
of
see.
procedures, but it
Yeah,
was, the food was amazing and it was a really good experience. But I did see them and I just thought, oh man, they're doing this, and even they were making quite good money, and it wasn't necessarily the most organized structure.
organized. Mm,
So I thought, I could do this, but I could sell meat instead. So
mm,
I thought, oh, maybe I'll try and copy.
mm,
Like, I got the idea initially from them. I enjoyed the atmosphere because everyone's always happy at festival and events and that type of
mm,
thing. I really enjoyed it, and I thought I just need to make it a lot more simple.
mm.
So in that respect, I literally just do really good quality hot
Yeah.
dogs,
Mm,
rather than like a dish with loads of different
yeah.
sides to it. And with that, because it's only, so I have tried to expand the menu a little bit. I tried doing like a danger dog, which was like a really spicy sausage with
Yeah.
like some spicy like mincemeat, and on the top like a chili
Yeah.
dog, that type of
Yeah.
thing as well. But
Yeah.
I did try and go a bit bigger and make the menu bigger, but then nobody was ever interested. They always just kept coming back to the simple sausage. So I was like, there's no point in me doing this because I wasn't selling
Keep it
enough.
simple for us. We don't want anything
Yeah.
complicated. Just keep it simple for us. Give us our sausages.
Yeah. I've changed it a bit, so we've got vegetarian now, so you can have vegetarian and vegan sausages, so it
Mm.
caters for more, and gluten
Oh,
free. But
really?
yeah, but in terms of making a bigger menu, it just, well, it wasn't worth it. I tried and it just didn't kick off. So yeah, so that's where
Because
the idea initially came from.
trust me, we are going to unpack all of this, right? So I'll come back to them, but I couldn't help but think, right, about the lesson or the learning point in the story you just shared. Not the initial one, the piece around, you wanting to expand the what we call in sales repertoire. You want to expand your assortment, so to say, right? Bring in different tastes, different flavors, different variants, and all of that. But the people kept going back to just give us, this is what we love, and you did not try to force it, right? You basically just, if this is what my customers want, I'll give it to them. I'm not going to try and force it down their throat that you must eat. Do you get what I mean? I think because because a lot of entrepreneurs just want to, they feel like this is what I have, this is what is good for you. You must take it. Meanwhile, they're not listening to the shoppers. They're not listening to the consumers. You're kind of like, okay, if that's what you want, then take it.
I did have a few people just saying, "Oh, you need to get you need to try this, you need to try this," and I did listen and I tried, but it didn't, like, it just wasn't worth it. So I just thought there's no
Yeah.
point in making things complicated. And I actually had a lady, I can't remember her name, but she was a British Bake Off, and she
Mm,
came. She was like, great, simple menu, well done, really good. And I was like, oh, thank you, I'm actually doing the right thing. I can't remember her name, but she's quite famous. And I was like, I felt the pressure as she was ordering from me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
So
That's
keep it
cool.
simple, I think. Not, and especially at first, if you're setting up, don't overcomplicate things because it can
Yeah.
become,
Mm.
can make things really tricky for you. And then you might lose the quality as well if you make it too complicated.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Now, so if I step back, right, or if we go back a little bit to the beginning, right, in terms of if you look at the number of events, right, just rough numbers of events that you do like in a year, or the number of people, whichever sounds, whichever you can wrap your head around, like in the immediate, like how many
Yeah.
people do you kind of cater to events do you cater to on an annual basis now, right? And how easy does it get?
Yeah, so at the beginning, I only started off doing a few events because I wasn't sure how to find them. I wasn't sure how you approach people. But obviously, the more time you do things, the more knowledgeable you become. And also,
Yeah.
word of mouth, people, you get chatting to other food vendors and then they'll tell you things. And so, the more events you do, it kind of snowballs. So,
Yeah.
that's what's happened with the business. I've taken a step back a little bit the last couple of years because of the baby.
Yeah.
But say, and I started off maybe doing like maybe as small as 5 events. And then let's think the summer of 22, 23, before I got married was the busiest. And I'd be maybe doing, so it's very seasonal. I'd be
Yeah.
doing kind of maybe 2 events, one or 2 events at the weekend. So doing every weekend through from May through to August.
Wow.
Yeah.
May
Yeah.
1-2 events every weekend, May through August.
Yeah. So for the summer months, so for that's
That's
mainly when the
busy.
festivals and carnivals are on. Yeah, it was when I was working full time as well.
That's busy, and you're running another job. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's fun though. I really enjoy it. I really enjoy it. It's very sociable. You're chatting to people, and I
Mm.
always work with like a friend or my sisters who've like worked. Same people work with me, kind of on and off if they're free at the weekend. So yeah, it was great fun. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that. Right, it's interesting to hear that from like 5 events right within that same period, you move to like
Mm.
2 events every weekend over a 3-4 month period. That's really like
Yeah.
massive growth until you decided to kind of scale back because of family commitments and all of that. So
Yeah.
that's really very helpful. Now to think about how it all started, right? 2 things I'm piecing together now. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I want you to probably go a little in and unpack it more for us if possible. Now, number one is the fact that yes, you love festivals, you like going to these places, you love the food and and the atmosphere. People are happy, and you just love that, and you had a lot of experiences. But number two, it looks like there was some kind of coincidence in you having to go to festivals with some of your friends, right?
Yeah.
The guys, and somehow something in you spotted an opportunity. You were helping them, you were doing stuff for them, but in the process of doing that, you spotted an opportunity, right? And in your head, you're like, I can do this, right? I can do
Mm.
this. I'm just wondering. Now, I know that there are a lot of things that people can do, but it doesn't mean that it can translate into a commercial success for them, right?
Yeah.
But this looks like something that can become big for you, even back then. Is that
Yeah.
correct? And how did you piece all of that together?
Well, I think I saw the business model that my friends were doing, my friends' parents were doing, and
Yeah.
I saw how successful they were. It wasn't necessarily the most organized process.
Yeah.
So I thought, oh, do you know, if they're able to still make money and
Mm,
it not be like them running out of stock and all of these other things, I was like, it would be hard to lose money from doing it. And it was
mm,
quite a small investment at first. So initially, I think it was only like 2-3 grand initially just to buy, get the public liability insurance, buy a
yeah.
gazebo, buy the equipment,
Yeah.
get myself registered with the local councils, and they
Mm,
come around, check it all out. So in terms of investing, you're only putting forward a couple of grand, and
mm,
that was all I'd have to make back. And back when I set up in 2013, I didn't have any commitments. I didn't have any family commitments. I could have lost that money had it
Yeah.
not worked out. So it wasn't too much of a gamble at the beginning, because I knew, I don't have to pay too much back in order to pay back what I've spent.
Mm.
Yeah.
So did you have to save that money up personally, or did you raise it from family? Somebody said
So
family, friends, and fools, right? Did you?
I had previously, so I'd been backpacking all around the world and done a lot of traveling, and as I was traveling, I was like thinking of names. So that's how I came up with Usually Sausage, because I was like, yeah, that's really catchy. So that's when I came up with the name.
That's cool.
And then when I came back from traveling, I had no money whatsoever. But in order to save up for traveling the first time, I'd done a season working on the yachts. So I don't know whether you've seen. There's a really trashy program called Below Deck, and it's like,
No, I haven't.
oh, it's terrible. I don't watch it myself, but it's the only thing that people can semi-relate to. It's like the big super yachts that the celebrities all work on.
Yeah.
Like celebrities go on, and they're
Yeah.
all on the TV and all of that stuff. So I did a season doing that out in the south of France.
Oh, okay.
So I was based in Cannes in the Côte d'Azur in France.
Yeah.
So I did that I did that back in 2011 to save money to go traveling. So you go on there and you don't have to pay tax. You get all your food paid. You get paid really good money for basically being a stewardess on a yacht. But you can spend it a little bit, like when you have time off, but it's tax-free money. So you just save all of that. So I did that for a season in 2011 to save money to go traveling for a couple of years. And then when I came back, I didn't have any money, and I was like, I need to do this again to save some money to set up my own business. So I went back out again in 2013, saved a load of money to do that. And then so I had that money in my bank to be able to spend it on setting up a business. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it's quite an easy way to save money, but you can only do that if you don't have a family or anything like that.
No, I understand, but that speaks a little to your determination. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? Because between the time that you conceived the idea, right, and the time that you went to work and saved the money, I mean, 1,001 things could have happened. You could have blown the money. You could have felt like, you know what? Let me go back to Australia. Let me just travel the world again. Right? That's something fun.
I did spend a little bit traveling around India.
but you are quite dogged. Like, you are quite, I'm going to do this, right? And you put that money, together, and then you came back and you started this. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I came back and then started. So I came back and started looking at buying a trailer first of all.
Okay.
So this is a story in itself. So I came back from my travels. I was living with my brother, and my brother's quite practical. And I was like, right, I'm going to start this. I need to buy a trailer. I need to get this going. So we drove to Bristol one night and looked at this caravan. Anyway, this caravan used to be owned by a company called Bagel Boys. And they basically used to sell bagels from it. But they were like, oh, we don't know whether you should, use it for a business that's just starting up, because it's quite an old caravan and all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, but it looks awesome. I think it looks really good. I can make this work. And so we ended up bringing the caravan home, and me and my brother set to work doing it up. But it wasn't the most expensive of caravans. It was like a couple of £100, and we started doing it up. And then my brother went off to Australia to go and live there, and I was left with this kind of half-empty caravan. No, it was a disaster.
Sorry about that.
It was he left me in the lurch. And then so I was like, right, I'll just have to pay someone else to do it, and then I can get this going. And then I had a friend help me move the caravan from one place to another. And on the way from moving it from one place to the other, the whole thing hadn't been fitted properly, and the chassis wasn't very good. It collapsed. And I looked in the wing mirror of my friend. It wasn't even a friend. It was a guy I'd paid who had a tow bar on the back of his car to help me move it. I looked in the background, and the whole thing had collapsed in a heap on the floor.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. And I'd put thousands of pounds in, like at least £2,000 into this trailer. And we just kitted it out wrong. It was too heavy. I still blame my brother for this. It was too heavy. It fell apart.
You should get a refund from him.
Yeah. I was like, you still owe me money. So it fell apart, and right there in front of my eyes. And so I didn't know what to do. I was laughing. My sister was like, "What are you laughing at? This is a disaster." So we pulled over, like the guy that was helping me out pulled it to the side of the road, and he was like, "Look, I know somebody who can help you get rid of this." Like it was not salvageable. It was absolutely terrible. And so that day, and it wasn't insured because we were still working on it, and it was just a disaster. So there was no insurance there, which is another lesson to be learned. And so basically the whole thing just got tipped. So that was like a couple of grand, and like time, it was a few months time just trying to get it done slowly but surely, because my brother was fitting it in as and when he could, and it was just gone. So that night I went to work because I was working for my other brother in his gym, just doing like a couple of shifts just to get some money in. I sat on the reception desk and I was like, "Oh, this is the most depressing day ever. My dreams have gone up in smoke." And he had a personal training client called John, who's like a really successful entrepreneur. You need him on it. He's great. Yeah. He came up to me and he went, "The thing is, Shelley, are you going to let this stop you, or are you going to move on from this? Yeah, are you going to keep going?" And he gave me a bit of a pep talk. And to this day now, whenever he comes to the sausages, I always give him a free hot dog, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. And he gave me that talk, and I still remember it. And I'm like, we call him Arctic John because he travelled up to the Arctic doing some exhibitions and stuff like that. Yeah. So he said that. And so that night was the night I was like, right, I'm not going to let this stop me. So I bought the gazebo online, got that ordered, and then from then on I was like, right, I've got to keep going with this, otherwise it's never going to happen. And so that's when I just bought the temporary structure and started with that. Yeah,
I see.
Yeah.
Now there's so much to unpack from this single story you have shared, and I know that you've shared some of the stories in forums that I was part of before.
Yeah.
And I just want to call your attention back to some of the principles you articulated to people within that forum. Now, was it out of these that you came up with that if you buy it cheap, you buy it twice?
You buy twice, yes. Yes, it was. Because we bought a really cheap rubbish trailer and then spent money doing it up, and it was just not worth it. It was such a stupid thing to do. Yeah, so it was out of that story that I got that.
You bought it cheap. You buy it cheap, you buy it twice. That never left me, right? Like, I will never forget, because it just stuck, right? But thinking about it now, Shelley, would you say that was a total waste, or some kind of business school immersion for you, some kind of business lesson you paid for? In an
it was a really expensive, depressing business
business lesson, right?
Oh yeah. I guess so. It was a lesson learned, definitely, because from then on I was just like, right. I did get another trailer to help me carry some stuff once, and that broke as well, but that wasn't necessarily, I think that was just a coincidence that happened. Yeah, I do. I think if you're going to invest it and you want to do it seriously, and maybe like if you couldn't afford to go big straight away, then if you're unsure of something, then maybe look at, if you wanted to do a catering business, for example, and you're not sure if it's something you want to do, or you're just trying it out, then go for the gazebo. But if you're really serious about it, make sure you just buy good quality stuff, because it's just not worth it otherwise, because you're just going to end up I wasted like a few grand doing that. And I knew I really wanted to do it. So then that meant I had to get a gazebo. And that was really hard work compared to the trailer I've got now. I just hooked that up to the back of my car and I go. Whereas the gazebo, for years and years, I was like 7 years, I was loading it into the back of my car, putting so Friday nights were non-existent, because I'd always just be loading stuff into my car. Brilliant. And then you get to the other side, you take it all back out again. And then at the end of the event, you have to load it all, you have to put it all away. And it was such hard work. So for 7 years, I was doing that before I got the trailer. So if you're going to do it and you're serious about it, just put the money in if you're able to. Yeah, or get the right investment.
Like, there are 1,000,001 questions popping in my mind, right, around these, and I would just try and pick them up one after the other, right? I guess the first is, if you had wanted to buy a proper trailer at that time, that initial time, could you afford it? Did you have the money to buy it if you wanted to at that particular time?
Yeah, I would have had at that point just because of the money I'd managed to raise from doing the yachting season.
Okay.
So I
Mhm.
would have had the money to have it then.
But you
But
will not have
obviously,
enough to kind of furnish it and to equip it with all that you.
yeah. But I also think I'm almost glad that it didn't happen straight away though, because I getting the trailer and spending more money in lockdown meant that I'd been doing it for so many years. I knew a
Yeah.
lot better
Yeah.
how I needed things and how I needed the layout, and now I've
Ah,
got different equipment now than what I had before. So
I
yeah,
told you. I told you. You
yeah,
just paid a very. It was a
maybe,
steep price to play. Sorry, it was a steep price to pay, but a lot of
yeah,
learnings came out of it, right? There are a lot
yeah,
of
yeah, yeah,
learnings.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I suppose it's a bit like a house. If you go in there and start doing stuff to it straight away, it's maybe
Without
not
yeah.
necessarily, yeah, what you want. And so, yeah, now I've managed, getting it later on has meant that I can have it the way I need it to be. Whereas at the beginning, I didn't have a clue what I needed.
Otherwise, we'll have had to redo it, right? Even
Yeah,
if everything worked, we'll have to redo it and pay money, just kind
yeah,
of reorganizing it to be fit for purpose, right?
yeah,
Coming
yeah.
out of experience. Now,
Mm.
the second question I want to ask around that event is, that pivot, right? I've never heard that one before, right? That pivot of, okay, yes, you wanted to start grand, right? That was intern. You wanted to start big with the trailer, with the caravan, and all of that, and it didn't
Yeah.
work out. And that motivation came from, what did you say, Arctic John, right?
Arctic
For
John, yeah.
Arctic John, right? That motivation came.
I owe that man. He only
Yes,
gets a
you do.
sausage every so
Yes,
often.
you do. Yes, you do. And then you, rather than, now you didn't get stuck saying, you know what, I'm going to go work another year, right? To raise another ton of money to go buy
Yeah,
another truck. You just said, you know what, let's start with what we can start with now, right? And
yeah.
then you went for the gazebo, and where did the old gazebo idea come from? Did you feel like, oh, I'm starting small, I would have preferred to start bigger and all of that? Were you in any way slowed down by the fact that it wasn't as grand as you wanted it to be?
No, it was more just that's what I had to do to get the job done. So I wouldn't have been able to set up unless I got a gazebo. So I just thought if I'm going to do this, I just need to start doing it this way, and then I'll go from there. And then if it's successful, then as it was, then I could then invest into the trailer and everything like that. So yeah, yeah, to get bigger. So it was more of a case of like, what do I need to do to get this done? So I think from speaking to a few people that are looking to set up their businesses, they talk to me and they're like, right, I really want to do this. But what do I need to do? And I'm like, you just need to buy the equipment that you need to get it done. But I think people are often unsure of just taking that step and buying what they need in order to progress the business. And so it's just that's the jump you need to do. You just need to get the equipment, because you can't even register a business until like you've got the equipment that you need in order to, in catering.
In your space, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You can't even because somebody from the council needs to come and see all the
And
setup, check it's all
inspect and
hygienic and all of that stuff. So you can't even you can register a name, but you need somebody to come and inspect it in
before
order
you
to do
give the
that. So you
license to
just need
operate.
to get, yeah, yeah. So my advice there is like, if you're thinking, if
Mm,
you've got the money there to do it, yeah,
mm.
go for it. I wouldn't get into debt or put it on credit to start. Personally, I'd make sure you've
Yeah.
got the money there to lose, because you don't want to be getting into trouble with that type of thing.
Yeah,
But
but
that's
having
personal.
proven the concept, right, and having tried it, are you comfortable getting into debt to scale it if that opportunity exists? Do you get what I mean? Like, now that you know the model, you know the operating model, you know how everything works,
Yeah,
right? And
I wouldn't I personally wouldn't want to do that, because also different people in the catering world, you'll be doing different things. So you don't know what's going to be successful. I've got a friend, for example, who got the idea for myself. She does vegan food. Anyway, she has she's got getting so much more money than me. She's doing amazing, because loads of people are vegan these days. So she does vegan wedding catering. So she does that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So she's doing it, but she left her teaching job, so I'm still a teacher. she left her teaching job to focus on that full time. She's done incredible, really, really incredible things. So yeah. So it depends. It depends what you do. I don't know whether I wouldn't want to say, yeah, get into to do this, because if you're choosing a different food that's maybe not quite as popular. So the good thing about the sausages is that you don't get any food wastage whatsoever. So a lot of people in the catering business, they might spend like a Thursday or Friday, Saturday night cooking up the food to sell. Whereas I don't have to do any cooking at home or anything like that. I just have the food there, cook it and sell it. So I haven't really got any preparation work apart from making sure that everything's all stocked up. And then I buy the sausages fresh. So they, if they're not used, I can then freeze them and use them next time. Whereas other people, like I did an event, it was the second worst event I've ever done actually, and it was a few weeks ago. And I was like, oh, it doesn't really matter if I haven't. Like, it's annoying, I've lost my time, but it didn't really matter that I hadn't made money because I wouldn't lose any stock. The only thing sometimes I might lose out on is the fresh bread rolls, because I use them fresh every time, but I just gave them to a food share company, so it wasn't wasted. But the guys next door to me, yeah, they had just loads and loads of fresh food, salad, tomatoes, and they were doing shawarmas, and they just lost it all. So yeah.
Wow. What
So that's
happened?
what some.
People didn't turn up or what?
I think it was quite badly
Publicized. Okay.
publicized, yeah, and there were too many food vendors, and normally I'm quite on it checking how many people there are, but for this one event I must have I blame the baby brain that I hadn't checked it, and there were so many food vendors, and there were just too many food vendors for even a really, really busy event. So yeah, that was a bit down, a bit of a rubbish one, but it was just my time that was wasted more than money.
Money. I see.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for sharing that, Shelley. Right? Just thinking about it now, trying to piece it all together in my head. I think it is safe to say that the business started from the boot of your car. Now, but now it's transitioned into the trailer, right? And it's been a journey, right, over the last 13 years. And I just want to begin to double click a little bit into the business side of the business, right? Because one thing is to be able to cook a nice meal, right, and let people come and eat and enjoy, right? But another thing is to be able to, build the critical mass in terms of client base, right, that can ensure that the business continues to do well, right? You're getting called for events, you call it, private or festivals and stuff like that. You mentioned something, you alluded to something just a little bit ago when you were talking about when you were in conversations with other caterers or people who are doing similar business and they began to drop ideas or thoughts or things they are doing to generate business, and you kind of took a lot of learning from conversations like that. I don't know if you're open to unpacking that a little bit. What were the practical things that you did or you're still doing to drive awareness of what you do, right? Or where which part of the planet you're you're operating from and how you can be of service. What are you drive? What are the practical things you're doing to drive that level of awareness that is now generating like business, like a pipeline of business for you?
Yeah, so you can there's two sides to my business personally. So you uh, up until recently I've done a lot of festivals and events which I've basically either been word of mouth or other traders have told me about that have been really successful ones. So for example, the one last weekend, everyone was like, "Oh, we're never doing that again." So you get word of mouth. But at the same festival, somebody gave me the details of another event organizer, and they were like, "Try this one." So I emailed her there and then, and I'm booked in for their next year now. So uh, word of mouth and networking with other traders, and especially if you're not doing the same foods, they're like everyone's more than happy to help each other out. Um, the other thing I said, like you mentioned driving awareness, maybe like advertising. The main thing in the minute, which I'm not as good at and I should be better at, is a lot of social media. Everybody looks on social media to try and find caterers, and that is one of the main things that you can do now to like Instagram and I think people search for things like a wedding caterer, evening wedding food, and so you need to make sure that your all your social media is up there and up to date, so then people can see what you're doing. And then so that would be, seems to be the way that everybody's advertised now. But that was not the case years and years and years ago. It was all kind of that was like me. I was emailing people for trying to book into events, whereas now a lot more people are approaching me now through word of mouth and that type of thing. So yeah.
So what about meaning people recommending you to people, right, based
Yeah.
on the experiences they've had or the
Yeah.
encounters they've had with you, right? Meaning
Yeah.
that.
And just being reliable and turning up to places. And
Yeah, that's what I'm
yeah,
okay.
you've got to make sure you've got good like reputation almost. If you say you're going to be somewhere, so sometimes even if I know it's going to be a terrible day, the raining, there's not going to be many customers coming out because people don't like going out in the rain, still just turning up there and making so the event organizers know that you're always going to be. So a couple of weekends ago, a motorbike festival, it was really, really, really hot, and every caterer had dropped out. And then he said to me, he went, I knew you were still going to be here, Shelley. And I'd actually had a problem with the stock. The day before, the correct stock hadn't come into the where I get it from, the butchers I get it from. And so I'd had to go out and buy some different stock. And I was almost like, oh, shall I not bother going because it's not my usual quality? But I was like, no, I've said I'm going to be there. I'm going to go and buy something else just to make sure that I'm there still. And I nearly was like, oh, maybe I won't go. But I was like, so glad I did, because the next day he was like, oh, I knew you were going to come, Shelley. Everyone else has let me down apart from you. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, I'm so glad I didn't not
Wow.
go. Yeah. So it's
Wow.
important to be reliable.
So credibility, reputation, like they know
Yeah.
you that you will show up irrespective of come rain, come shine, as we say it in my local. You will
Yeah.
show up because you've said you've committed to showing up. You delivered
Yeah.
on your promises. Mm.
Yeah. And you never know kind of where you're going to come round and see these people again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's true in any business perspective. It's good to keep good relationships because you never know when you're going to come across people or what people say and that type of thing. So yeah, I was really glad I did. I was like, I'll always remember that because he was so grateful. And I was like, oh gosh, imagine if I hadn't have gone and got the stock from elsewhere.
And guess
Yeah.
who that guy will recommend if anybody speaks to him to say, you know what, do you know anybody who, like a caterer who can help with? Guess who that person? No
With
brainer,
delicious
right?
sausages.
No brainer. You're going to be top of mind for him because you've come through for him in very difficult times, right? So
Yeah.
he will definitely remember.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
No, that's really very helpful. That's really very good. Thanks a lot for sharing that. Now, I want to pivot the conversation into, what I know that, small and medium scale businesses kind of struggle with, right? And that is, and I don't want to get technical because we want to talk about money and how you manage money and finances and all of that. I don't want to get technical, but just in terms of common sense approach to ensuring that a business stays the business and I am who I am, right? We are two different entities. Now, so back to the conversation around finances. What are the practical, and we live in the UK, right? You and I know that it's a very highly regulated market, right? So there are
Yeah.
certain things you need to
Yeah.
file your tax returns and all of that. So it's a little, you can't, there are no two ways around it. You need to find a way to ensure that proper things are done from a financial, responsibility standpoint. I'm just wondering, how do you manage that entire process in terms of your bookkeeping, in terms of your file tax returns? Do you outsource it? Do you do it yourself? Any any thoughts or ideas you would like to share with people who are just coming up and don't have the kind of budget to
Yeah.
hire
Because
CPAs or accountants and all that?
yeah, so with yeah, I know my husband's obviously he works for himself and he has to, it's a very different situation with him because he's like an engineer contractor. So the way he does his books is really hard work. Whereas mine, I do it at an event on an event basis. So each event I do, I'll work out all the costs. So like all the food and everything like that. I'll keep all of the receipts. I used to keep all paper ones, but I now take photos of them. So I have it all on my phone. Just being organized with it is the main thing. So rather than letting it build up, build up, build up, build up, and then you kind of not really remember what you've done. I just try and do it on an event basis. So each event I'll have like a load of receipts that I've spent the money on, and I'll just punch it in. I've got like a spreadsheet system, and I'll punch it in there after every event. And then I'll obviously work out my costs, then the profit that I've taken through cash and on card. And then obviously I'll work out the turnover and then the profit with that. So I do that for every single event. And that way I'm always on top of it for each. So I'll always do like the day after the event. I used to do it the day of the event because I'm like, how much money have I made? And now I'm like, I'm not quite as money orientated now. I'm just like, oh, whatever. So I keep like a running spreadsheet going, which I'd really recommend that you keep on top of, because I know if you don't do that, you end up spending hours trying to you end up trying to go back over things and you don't necessarily remember exactly what you've done. And also having like paper copies, they're so easily lost, aren't they? And then you're then losing money because you obviously don't.
You have to pay tax on what you could have invested.
Yeah, so I keep it on my phone. I've just got a separate folder for photos of receipts. And then actually up until this year, every year I paid like a Christian accountant I knew to do the books. But I actually just thought, now Adam, my husband, set up his own business and he's doing his own returns. He was like, oh, it's actually really easy to do it yourself. And I was like, I wouldn't trust myself to do it. But we sat down and did it together, and it was a case of just punching in the profit, the loss, the profit and the costs and all of that stuff. And then we ended up, so I did it myself this year for the first time. But previous years to that, I've just paid somebody. But because I've done most of the hard work in the spreadsheet myself throughout the year, when I came to give her the information before, it didn't cost too much. It was only like a couple of £100 to get the tax return submitted. But depending on what you're doing, like the detail of it, it might be slightly different for you. So I've always used an accountant up until this year. It was actually quite easy. So I'm like, why did I spend that money all those other years?
I think because your husband took you through it, right, and basically just walked you through how you just simplify it for you, right?
Yeah, he's much more methodical than I am.
Right, and then all of a sudden you see, it's the benefit of being married to a numbers guy. The numbers guy. Okay, thank you very much for sharing that. I want us to go a little bit into people, and I know that you don't have a large organization, a large team of people that you work with, but I know that from time to time you probably get ad hoc, right, people who come around and support you on this and support you on that. Now, what would you consider to be the biggest lessons you've learned, right, in the art of working with people, right? Hiring, firing, having tough conversations when we need to have them. What are the biggest lessons, and how do we? What can you just share generally along that line?
With work, it's what I've learned along the way. There's certainly some people that work for me that make life a lot easier when I'm working with them than other people. So my sister, for example, is spot on. She's absolutely brilliant, and she just makes my life easier when we work together. She's really hardworking, but she knows what to do when, and just when you've got a massive queue of customers, she'll be helping me to make things run smoother, and uses her initiative.
Does she get paid?
Yeah, so she does get paid. She won't, even if I don't make money, she's taking that money off me. You think being your sister, being your sister, she might let you off, and no, she does not do that.
Well, that's hilarious.
She said to me once, we had a really quiet event, and she was like, well, there's been times where you've took £700 and I've taken 70, so I'm taking this money. And I was like, oh, all right.
Wow.
Yeah, brutal. Our family are very, very honest with things. So, but the thing with her, I think it just pay your staff well. If you've got someone good, so I'll pay you more than like the people that are really good and I want to work with me every week because they just make my life so much easier. I pay them like a decent wage because it's worth it. If it makes my life easier, it's much better having them on board than somebody who, just sometimes when you've got a huge queue of like 100 meters long, with like 50 people in it or something. Wow. Yeah, sometimes it was like that a couple of weekends ago, and I had a lady helping me, and she hadn't done it before, and I was like, "Well, it's not rocket science cooking sausages. It's not like
Yeah.
easy to do." But she was just on it. She was so brilliant, and the queue just went so quick, and it's
Wow.
almost like worth paying somebody really well to get the queue moving, so then you can get more people in the queue and keep. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I would just say if you've got someone who's worth investing in, worth who's helping you that much, pay them well. 'Cause so many people
Yeah,
try to save money through staff, and actually, if
yeah,
someone's, and I think it's the right thing to do, isn't it? If someone's working hard and helping you, it's only going to also help you in the long run because you'll end up making more money with them.
yeah. I
So
agree. I agree.
yeah, yeah.
And have you ever had to, deal with like not very good or pleasant kind of, staff, and you've had to say, okay,
No, luckily I haven't. I know I've so one of the things, we've got the trailer and you can only actually fit two people in it.
okay,
Otherwise it's too squished.
okay,
So having a lesson learned from that was I would have bought a bigger trailer had I have just to kind of
mm,
also get like a fryer in it as well. I would have done that. But you can only fit two people in it. So I will only ever work with like friends or family that I know
okay,
are able to do it. So I've never had the problem of I don't have like a large staff team. I know my brother runs a gym and I know his number one issue is staffing. He just always having like issues and
turn over
problems with that
people,
type of stuff.
yeah,
Yeah. Just and it's you have to have awkward conversations with people, and whereas because I only work with friends or relatives, I've never had to have anything, no awkward conversations, thankfully. But yeah,
lucky you.
I hear that is one of the main the hard things to go through
Yeah,
with running a
it's a big
business.
pain point. When I have
Yeah,
conversations with entrepreneurs, it's a big pain point.
yeah,
A few of them have been able to track it,
yeah,
right? But I think it comes down to some of the points you made, or the key point you made around treating people decently, right? And for
yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, for you, it may just be a matter of wages and their friends and all of
yeah,
that, and giving them a decent wage. But that is coming out of a good place, right? And
yeah,
as the organization become larger, the implications of that will go beyond wage, right? To
yeah, yeah,
cascade into other areas of of life, right? So I guess people just want to be treated rightly, and
yeah.
but
Well, my brother did say to me, it was like, if you've got someone who's worth keeping, I had another friend and she helped me all summer once. And he was like, Shell, if she's that good, like buy her a gift at the end of the summer. So she really wanted these
wow,
trainers. So I just bought her these like quite expensive trainers that she wanted just to say thank you. And it's almost, yeah, it's
wow,
almost not like in a way like, I bought her a nice pair of trainers. It's like almost a way of just treating them well. And then they'll also
yeah,
treat you well back. So yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I've
and
heard it can be tricky.
it can be tricky, to be honest. And I mean, the way, to the point you're making, the way they treat you well back is by
Yeah,
treating your customers well, right?
yeah,
Because that's, you get what I mean. So if they are not happy with you, they take it out on they take it out
yeah,
on your customers. But if they are happy
yeah,
with you,
yeah,
then it will show in the way they relate with customers and the way they do all the things that they do.
yeah.
It's beautiful. Now, yeah, I want to begin to bring this to a wrap because I know that I'm a bit conscious of time, and I know that I don't want the baby to wake up. I said, call out after around it. Yeah, I don't want to test your loyalty. I know where it lies. I
It's
know where
fine.
it lies.
I'm having a much more relaxing time here.
All right. So now, if I if you look back again, right, and I know that there will be one or two things that I want to pull out of that, but if you look back again and you have to start all afresh,
Yeah.
right? You've shared a few things here and there, but are there things that, okay, let's even assume for 1 minute that you're starting it all afresh today, right? Based on everything you have £3,000 in your bank account, and you want to start it afresh. What are the choices that you've made or you will make that are going to be significantly different from the earlier choices you've made? If we take the trailer conversation out, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What are the other choices that you made, right? That perhaps will allow you to go a bit faster, right? But
Yeah. So I obviously chose the name Muesli Sausage, didn't I? Because I just loved it and they were my favourite food. But that's
how did you come
also
by the name? How did you come by the
oh
name?
I just was traveling and I thought of it and I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I did just study marketing at uni and I was like, a good brand name will get me far. And I was like, but this brand name has limited my food I can do because I can only do
Yeah,
sausages. Because sometimes
yeah.
people come up to me and they're like, do you do burgers? I'm like, no, because the sign says you silly sausage above you.
Mm.
So maybe it is limited. So I wouldn't change the sausages, but it's obviously stopped me from being able to expand a little bit because of the name. But I think I would have the trailer I did buy. I would have bought a bigger one so I could offer more because I bought Avenue
And
on.
before we go into the trailer conversation, so are you saying you cannot go back now and change the name into something a bit more generic if you
I
want?
can, but it's almost you silly sausage is almost like it's
It's become
recognizable now.
household, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, people say the event I go to year on year and year, like one of them I've been going to for like 10 years and they recognize
Yeah.
the name and they're like, you silly sausage, we get one from here every year. So I'm always like, I've pushed myself into a corner with the sausages. So I probably could change the name and do something else. But also because I'm doing that so well, I don't know.
Mm.
I just,
Well,
yeah.
if the name is not restrictive in any way, what would you
Yeah.
have loved to add to your offerings apart from sausages?
So I would like to increase revenue. I'd like to add fries in with it as well. So do sausages and fries. I get asked that quite a
Yeah.
lot. So that can, but I'm restricted with. So I can do that with the same name, but I'm restricted with the space at the minute in the trailer.
Ah,
So I'm
okay. So
trying to think of ways to do
to
that. But then,
expand.
yeah. So I think another thing I would have done. I've gone very much down the festival route. And after last weekend, when it was just I didn't really make any money,
Yeah.
I think another route that my friend who does the vegan business, Vegan
Mm.
Junkies, she's only does private events now. So private events, you have a set amount of money, set amount of food, and you sell
Mm.
and you know exactly what you're getting. Whereas events, it can come and go. So weather can affect it, or turnout of the event can affect it. So I think maybe I would probably recommend more private events to people who maybe be looking because the festival business is all it is fun doing it and everyone's in a good mood, but it can be very hit or miss. So I think maybe listening to private
Oh,
event might be a way going forward, especially with family life as well, because sometimes your events are always at the weekends.
yeah.
And so it's obviously interrupting in family time, whereas
Yeah.
private events, it might just be an evening of a weekend, not all day and
Yeah.
all night. So
Yeah.
yeah.
But
So
which of them pays better from a revenue and profitability standpoint?
it totally depends. You can get like a really busy event and get a good chunk of money if it's really,
Okay.
really busy. But you
Okay.
can also get like a private event. You could get depending if you're just doing like say I could do sausages in an evening
Yeah.
and get like a bit of money for that, or you can do it as so I did expand a little bit with the
Yeah.
same name and did sausage
Yeah.
and mash. So you can do that, but it's more of a so a little tub with sausages, mashed
Yeah.
potato and a bain marie, peas and
Oh,
gravy
I see.
and
Yeah.
onions.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
very
Yeah. Yeah.
classic English. Yeah.
Stuff.
So you
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
charge more for that during the day, but it's not kind of sit down meal. It's
Yeah.
more festival style weddings that like that type of thing.
Kind of
So
thing. Okay.
yeah, so I don't know. You can't really say which one earns more because you might go to an event like I did a couple of weekends ago, a carnival, and it was like queues for ages. And it's really hit or miss. Whereas private events, it's a set amount of money, you're done, you know what you've got. Whereas events, you can turn up and you might not sell anything, or you might sell loads. So, but I've kind of got an idea now of which one's good and which ones aren't after doing it for so long.
Yeah, I think there's a predictability that comes with private events, right? Because I
Yes.
mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of done, calculated, you
You got the
pay,
money.
you
Yeah.
just go there. If they like, let them take it. If they like, let them not. It's their food. They already paid for it,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
so
Yeah. And if they don't have it all, then you've already got them. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's the food.
Definitely.
It's the food. All right. Yeah. So if I go back to that question, you were trying to. Sorry, I took you off your train of thought. You were
Yeah.
trying to
Sorry.
share the things you would do differently. So you've spoken a little about the name. I think you'll say something about expanding, using
Yeah.
like a
Making
bigger
it.
trailer or something to.
Yeah, a bigger trailer to be able to include more things for the private events. So you can have a
Okay.
hot dog, which is good for an evening when everyone's dancing and having a few drinks. but maybe like being able to offer more with I think sausages, you want chips with sausages, don't you? But I don't have the space to be able to have the cooking facilities for the chips. So you can do like Doritos or crisps and that type of stuff. So
sounds like an expansion opportunity, right? Isn't it?
Yeah. Just getting the time to think about it now.
I know.
And then again, it's like, like you said before, doing the different flavors of sausages at events. The people weren't interested. At festivals, people weren't interested in that. But private events, that would be something you could use as an add-on to create more revenue.
Yeah. No, I think I like the fact that you are quite clear about your different customer base, right? The kind of people that comes to wear, right? So I guess that's the roundabout way of saying. So if you go to the festivals, right, it's pretty set. They love what they love, right? And they don't want to do anything complicated. Give us our sausage, give us our, whatever on it, and then we hit it and have fun and we go. Okay. Unlike maybe private events, it's more like proper party. They want different, maybe a couple of options here and there. So I think that having that clarity about what can happen within each of these settings, right, and being able to square the numbers for each of them, right, will give you a good idea of what can come in, and then you can plan based on that. But I know that it looks like there are quite some opportunity. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you are kind of holding yourself back a little bit because now the baby is little. You don't want to overcommit yourself. How do you strike the balance? How do you strike the balance now that
With the family life.
work life?
Because when I started, I didn't have any commitments or anything like that. So it was you can just chuck yourself into it. Whereas now we have said like rather than doing 2 days at a weekend, just do one. So you've got 1 day rest with the family, and then another day you're working. And then now I'm also
lost revenue for that day.
With the day I'm not working. Yeah, I'll try and only. So the events are proven good. I'll only do the ones that I know, apart from that one last weekend that I did. I'll only do ones that I know I've got a proven track record of being successful. So I'll do those ones. So most of them, like if I know there's a better one at a weekend, I will do that one rather than the other ones.
So you're making choices now because
now so I'm trying to do. Yeah, I'm trying to move more often to the private event route. So then if it is private event, it will often be like an evening on a Saturday or a Friday evening. So trying to move down that way, but we'll see. Sometimes, it's harder with young children. Although sometimes it's quite nice because you get a break. So I don't know. Yeah.
And in the future, do you see a possibility of a branch of this business becoming something that you can activate during the non-summer period or non-summer months, right? Because now it's a bit seasonal, right?
Yeah.
But then we have 4 seasons, okay?
Yeah.
On those other months that things are a bit cold and all of that, any plan to, roll out some initiatives?
Yeah, so that was another reason why I was looking into private events, because they run all year. So I've actually started doing, since the baby's been born, doing business parks. So doing lunchtime slots at business parks, which can be quite like a nice ticking over a little bit. So I've started doing that. I'm looking into more private events and advertising on private event websites, which I haven't done before. I've always just focused on the festivals. So yeah, I'm kind of trying to find different avenues. There was also, we were discussing, because weddings, obviously my husband and I got married and everyone knows how expensive a wedding is. We were looking at renting out the actual trailer. So I've rented out the trailer itself. They covered up the logo and to a hotel down the road, and they rented the actual trailer from me just for a bulk price, and used it to cook tacos and things. So they just they covered the branding,
all the branding,
and used that. So so we were looking at kind of different. There's other ways you can make money from the equipment and stuff that we've got. Hmm.
it looks like a lot of revenue streams, yeah, right?
Yeah, there's
I like
different
the
revenue.
rental part. Yeah, I like the
Oh,
rental
yeah.
part. That's
Well,
cool
yeah,
money,
because it's
right?
minimal effort as well. You drop it off and then you leave and come back. Although people will never look after your things as well as you do. So there were a few burnt pieces of wood, and I was like, how did that even
Yeah, no,
happen?
no, I understand.
If you take a deposit.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you take a deposit, right? That's what landlords do for us. They take our
Yeah.
deposit. If the house is not in the same condition you met it, they charge you for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It is what it
Exactly.
is, right?
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So
Well,
yeah.
well, well. I mean, thank you so much, Charlie.
You're
Right,
welcome. My
for
pleasure.
coming. We've been talking for 1 hour. Can you believe that? Right, and
No, I did wonder.
we
I was
go.
like, am I going to be able to fill this time?
And I'm sure we can go on and on and on. There's a
Mhm.
few things I just feel like let me allow you be. Right. Thanks a lot for coming on the adventures and for sharing all that you have shared. Right. So transparently and so passionately. Now, before I let you go, I'll just, I don't know, just imagine that we have one or two people out there, right? They are different stages of their business life or their entrepreneurial journey. What is that, one word of encouragement you can give to them? Maybe like something similar to what Arctic John,
Arctic John, yeah. Yeah.
give to you. What is that word of encouragement? Because you hit like, I won't call it rock bottom, but it was a low period, right?
Oh, it was very low period. Yeah.
Right. And then that word just kind of took you out, right? So,
Yeah.
any word of encouragement, any closing thought, right, to your younger self
Yeah.
or to entrepreneurs out there struggling and trusting that there'll be a break at some point.
Yeah. Well, I would just say to just take that step. Um, you will come across things that will set you back, as I did myself. And just to really if you really want to do it, take that step and believe in yourself to try it. Because sometimes people just think and think and think on things, and you can overanalyze things, but unless you just step out and try it, you're never going to know, are you? So yeah, just take that leap if it's something that you feel is you want to do and you want to move forward in. And it is I do prefer working for myself over somebody else, because you've got that flexibility, and yeah, and you can push yourself forwards, whereas I haven't at the minute, but it can keep going forward.
Yeah. I mean, isn't it cool to be able to say, okay, I don't want to take that. I want to take this. This is because I want to
Yeah,
spend time with family. It's such a
yeah,
blessing. It's such a blessing.
yeah.
And I
And
can
you've got
tell you,
you've
it's
not
such a
got someone
blessing.
else telling you what to do. I've got, apart from the
Yeah.
occasional health inspector.
How often do you do that? The whole
um
health inspection thing.
Not very often. I think I've seen 3 or 4 in the last 13 years, so
Oh,
they're
really?
not
They
so
just show
bad.
up unannounced?
Yeah, mainly at the bigger festivals. I've only done,
Oh, okay.
I haven't done the huge ones, but
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They're okay though.
Cool.
Yeah.
Charlie, once again, thanks a lot
Thank
for
you.
coming on the adventures. I enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for all that you shared, right?
No, my pleasure.
I'm sure that listening to it again, people will be able to distill and pick a lot of lessons, even the ones that we didn't call out clearly as lessons. Just listening to the story, people will be able to get a lot from that. So thank you for, all that you do, for
Yeah.
choosing the
Thank you.
family, for finding the balance, right? It's
Yeah.
always that kind of difficult, but you're making it happen, right? Super mom, super entrepreneur. Well done.
I try. Not sure how super I am.
Well, I can tell you
Aw,
are because I
thank
know.
you.
Thanks a lot, Shelley. Really
Aw,
appreciate
thanks
it.
so much.
Hey, thanks a lot for taking the time to watch the podcast. We are super thankful for you taking that time and investing the time to learn. We hope that you find the story inspiring, and beyond that, that you've been able to articulate one or two things that you want to do differently in your own entrepreneurial journey. May I encourage you to please like, subscribe, comment, and please share the word within your own circle of influence, especially within those that you think are on the same entrepreneurial journey with you. May I also encourage you to please, beyond subscribing to our YouTube channel, follow us on our other social media platforms. That means a lot to us, and we can see that that helps us to track that we're making some progress and so making some impact. Thanks a lot once again for taking the time to watch, and to see you on the next episode.